to this. Full integrated 3,000 liter rain system. Greenhouse, automated door windows for the top that are heat sensitive. A 4,500 liter tank for growing food and using as a aquaponic system. And I'm now putting in the plants, and that's it. So let's have a look at how this was done. The design for the basic greenhouse. As I went along, a few alterations have been made, but not much. Framing is using all 10 by 10, except for the roof. The roof we're using 5 by 10. That's in centimeters. Before all of this started, first we dug a pit to the depth that I needed. This got lined with rubber, a rubber liner like you'd use for doing ponds, carp ponds and so on. This was to keep any grass or anything from growing up underneath. It extended slightly about 25 centimeters out around. This got filled with heavy or coarse gravel, and then I used a machine to pound it down so it embedded it. And what this does is it made very small holes, if any, into the rubber because it's a sturdy rubber, but it packed that down. Over this then went a layer of very small pea gravel or small river gravel, and that got packed down. That's what you'll see in most of the videos. What the idea behind this is we're not growing in the ground. If I have any water that gets loose or anything, instead of having a cement foundation, this will simply, the water will flow down, flow through the gravel beds, and dissipate naturally. So I don't have to worry about a drainage system or anything for this. The overhang has been removed. We went with the straight overwrap of the garden house plastic, and we're going to put rain gutters in here with an off slope. They've got a special thing for this that will allow the rain to come, drop into the gutters that goes into the back. This is the framework here. You'll see that going up. And as I said, everything in the main building is using a 10 by 10 centimeter square framing. We had to buy the wood. It was ripped, which means they just run it through a very rough saw. So I had to go in, plane it, sand it, and then waterproof everything before it went up. But we'll get more into that later. So let's move on to see what's been going on. Okay, so we're starting today. We're going to level, this is going to level and be leveled out to that orange line. That's where the greenhouse is going to go. The rest of this stuff, we're just going to run a compressor over it. They went to get the compressor, they forgot to bring it. It's just a big wheel. We're going to run it over and just flatten this just for now, because all of this has to be dug out for the house anyway. But from here over to there, all of that has to be planed and actually even, because right about where he's sitting right now, in that area is going to go the greenhouse. You see I put my marker back there. So, okay, let the games begin. Somebody was mentioning how expensive this stuff seems to be. The way we're getting around that is I'm buying what's known as ripped wood. Okay? So I get the ripped wood, I've got to cut it and sand it and do everything to it, including waterproofing it. This gets me my lumber at about 1/3 of the cost, at about twice as much work. All right, so we're going to get started. The first thing we're going to do is set up the base foundation. And once that's set up, I've got the wood sanded, waterproofed and everything and in position. I'll explain what I did. Now, because these are ripped, they're not cut evenly. So what I've done is I've banded them. And this way I can come in with my sander. And as you see here, these are sanded flush. This one's coming out, it's off angle. I'll sand that.
Once these are sanded, then I know that that end is even. Then I'll have to come down here and work on this end, which is the problem end. Once I'm sure that all the wood is even, the same length, then I'll move over and I'll do my 7 meters. Once I have all of these done, I will then waterproof them and start setting up the baseline. All of those stones that you see over there will start coming into play later. You'll notice here the distinct difference between what I've got sanded and what's not. Okay? The distinct bonus to this is, at least the lumber company that I deal with always gives me 5 to 10% more per piece, knowing that it's ripped and that it could have flaws in it. So my 4-meter boards that I got are actually just over 5 meters long. So when I cut this, I'm going to get 4 1+ meter long sections that I can use for corner studs. So I'm actually saving money this way. Besides the regular savings, I'm getting additional timber out of it this way as well. So that's 4 meters of studding that I will not have to buy. I'm using the sand method, which basically the concept was is you would have a sand in an area. You would then put your stones over it. As you remove the sand, the stones would level. So I've got a stone at all 3 points on each board. All of them are now leveled. Now I've put temporary holders in the corners, angles, and I know now that it's square. I had the 1 stone in the middle, 1 stone on each end, leveled it. And now what I'm doing is I'm digging out just what I need to put these in here very firmly using a rubber hammer. Where I'm putting my holders for my cement, I am already marking here. I put that in there. I pack them. As I move down, I'm digging out to make room. The leveling blocks are in. The securing bolts are set. Everything is leveled and squared. And I have to wait 24 hours for the cement to set. So, this is now done. It's leveled, squared. The foundations is put in to help with settling. Each of these brackets that you see here, all of those are cemented into the ground, about 15 centimeters deep. All the wood is now cut, sanded, and waterproofed. We are now going to do the 50 centimeter studs or cross support pieces because we're waiting for the gravel to come in that's going to fill this up. Once the gravel's in, then I can start putting the walls up. Okay, gravel has arrived. Gravel is in and basically leveled. I've still got to pack it, but I've got to finish leveling it first. So the bottom is basically done. I got to get all these sides up today. Okay, so everything has been cut, planed, sanded, waterproofed, and is put together. All right. So now we have a bunch of these 10 by 5s, 10 centimeter by 5 centimeter thick. We're turning those into 2 centimeter by 5 centimeter boards, and those will go on the outside to hold the plastic down, which I will show you later when it's done. You still have to put the molding up along there and the rain gutters and put in the doors. And then next will go the windows for the airflow. Those are to hold the gutters on. Outer doors are finished, latches are done. I gotta put the magnets in the top and the bottom to help hold it closed here. So when I want to open them, I just and then they can close. This can either just hang there or put it there. But you have a latch here, and you go in. So the way I did the vents is I just put a spacer because I wanted it above here, and it allowed me to attach this piece of wood, and then I just I had already cut a hole in here using a jigsaw, and then I just screwed it in from the outside. Now I kept the round pieces that I cut out, and I'm going to sand those down and make little plugs so this can plug up in the winter. And that's what it looks from the outside. So once I had this, I cut the plastic out, and this has a little gummy seal that I put on there, some little double-sided sticky, so that sealed it, and then I just screwed it on. So we got 2 on the other side and 1 on this side. The other side's the cooler side because it's next to the other building, so it will pull that cold air in. This one is to help with the upward circulation because right above it is the 2 windows. The side vents are in. I've got a vent there. I've got a vent down at there and another vent here. All I have to do is finish attaching the sliding doors. Now, an average bee's wingspan is about 15 millimeters. So this stuff across is 25 to 30 millimeters. So that gives them plenty of room to come in and out without hindering their wingspan. I made slide rails down at the bottom, and they run along wheels at the top. The only dilemma with this is if you do not put downward pressure when you slide these, they'll want to jump the rail. My wife is talking about wanting to put hanging weights off of each of the wheels, but I don't know if that's going to be necessary. It's slightly uneven, but that's the gapping here is mainly due to when I stretched this, I stretched it real tight so I could open these as wide as possible for the bees and insects to pollinate, and it pulled it a little. But this is mainly to keep the birds out, so it'll do its job.